Hi, welcome to In a Pickle Knitting. My name is Donna, and this is a podcast about knitting and shenanigans, if by shenanigans you mean crafts and making. I'm coming to you from Northern Virginia. Today is Friday, March 12th, 2021, and let's get started with some of these crafts that I have for you today. We're going to start with knitting, with something that I finished shortly after my Valentine series ended in February, and this is my V for Valentine socks. The pattern is by Ellie Jones from Craft House Magic, and I did make an alteration. There should be a V here, V for Valentine, and instead I decided to do two hearts. And another modification I made by accident was I did not put the design on both sides of the socks, just on the outside, but that's fine. Doesn't make any difference at all. And they will still be visible if they're not covered by my pants anyway. So here are my socks. I have a Ravelry page that shows the yarn that I used, and I had quite a bit of that yarn left over. So that was Dream in Color yarn, but I don't remember the color name. So let's move to the next thing that I've completed that was in knitting. Excuse the throwing things on the floor here. I don't have a surface to put anything on. And that is a dish towel set that I made, which includes one that hangs. So this is the towel, has a button here so that you can put it over the handle of your dishwasher or refrigerator or stove, whatever you want, and it has this lacy pattern to it. This came from a pattern that I don't think you'll be able to get. I bought a calendar several years back. I'm not sure, this doesn't even give the year that it was, but it's been quite a few years. And I did save out just a couple of the pages when I saw a project that I might want to do. So it's one of those daily calendars, but it wasn't really daily. It was, they would do, I think, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So 3 days, almost like there was 3 days a week, or 3 sheets a week. And this pattern took 2 of the sheets. So it was Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So there would have been a Monday, Tuesday that would have been something different. And they did theirs in red because they called it a Christmas lace kitchen set. So it has the washcloth as well, which I did make. And let me tell you first, I used Knit Picks Dishy, and this is the color Mint, which makes sense. It looks very much like a mint color there. I had made one dishcloth out of 2 skeins. So I don't mean I used 2 skeins. I had 2 skeins. I made one dishcloth last year, year before. And then, so I had left over 1 entire skein and however much of that other one, which I don't think I weighed it. So I did get this, and then I was able to make the small cloth, but I did make a mistake on it. I'm sure you'll see right away here. There was a pattern that went back and forth, and I must have put it down, picked it up, and not known where I was and not paid attention at all, because it wasn't until I was up here binding off that I even noticed. It's still perfectly functional. It bothers me quite a lot, and I could have made it over again. But I decided instead I thought, I really want to see, I've never crocheted dishcloth. So I looked on YouTube, and I'm going to put the name of the maker down here because she showed you every step of making this. It was a very simple pattern. It just alternated, I think, either a double crochet or a half double crochet and a single crochet. And that's all you did. You just did a foundation chain. And I really like the way this came out. I don't know, probably kind of hard to see, but there is a pattern there. It has almost a waffle appearance if you look at it from back. So I got this, which was a larger cloth than this one. And this from roughly 1.5 100-gram skeins. I had this much left over. So I really like that. My mother really always asked me to make her more of these. I've made her a couple, and she always wants always says, oh, I wish you'd make me some more of those. And I don't actually like making that big cloth for some reason, but this was kind of fun. It was a fun lace pattern there. It seemed to work pretty well. So that's a gift. Although I'm going to give her the crochet dishcloth, and I'm going to keep the one that has the mistake in it because it's still perfectly usable, and she has a set even though her set won't exactly match. So some more knitting. Now this is actually a project that I did not finish recently. I finished this about 4 years ago. Well, really almost exactly 4 years ago. But because we're coming up to St. Patrick's Day and my theme this podcast is my green, I'm getting my green on, get your green on. I thought I would show these because they're perfect they're called Shamrock sock. The pattern is by Lisa K. Let me double check. Lisa K. It was, I believe, a free pattern, although I could be wrong about that. It was on Ravelry. And if you look closely, what you'll see are not shamrocks, but here you can see, it made 4-leaf clovers in the design. My understanding is, and the shamrock plants I've seen have 3 leaves, like this, 3 leaves. And a 4-leaf clover has 4 implied in its name. So this pair of socks is perfect for getting my green on. I don't recall the yarn that I used. It was a very nice sock yarn. I do have a project page. If you go back quite a bit, you can find Shamrock sock in there if you really needed to know. But just find a nice green that you like, and you can make some Shamrock socks. The next thing that I knit was a pair of fingerless mitts, although these are called fingerless gloves. The name of the pattern is, let me grab it here, Celtic Knot Fingerless Gloves. The pattern maker's name is not on here anyplace, but I did get it on Ravelry. So if you just search for that, and you'll see there it is. Now, I did modify this pattern. This is a pattern that starts with a number of stitches, ends with a number of stitches, and it's the same all the way along. But when you start here with your wrist, a number of stitches, and you're going to here, even your hand part is, maybe it's more similar because it's thin, but this part of your hand is, in mine in particular, is quite a bit wider. And so I knew right away I was going to knit in a gusset. And I did do that and made a thumb that had a gusset, because if you can knit it so that it fits better, there won't be any stretching across the back, or especially across the front, because you don't want to disturb that cable pattern that's so pretty. And they actually turned out fitting very nicely, I think, where the cable's not stretched at all. It doesn't stretch across the back at all. It fits because I shaped it. I did then, so you made the gusset, but I added 4 stitches when I took the stitches off to do the thumb later, when I put them on waste yarn. A lot of times I had not taken any of the original stitches from the mitten. Often you do, take 1, 3. I didn't take any. I started with a make 1 and made my gusset. And my gusset went all the way up to, I think, 19 or 21 stitches on the gusset before I took it off, because I just kept trying it on. And when it got to the length that it came to this spot, then I put them on waist yarn. But I cast on 4 extra stitches there, and I left them to the end because this part, as I said, the diameter here is more than the diameter here, at least on me. So I think I could have not done that, and it would have stretched out okay. It's fine. But that's what I did that was different. And I really like these a lot. If you look at the patterns that are on Ravelry, a lot of people put a gusset, because just making, like, it's almost like the pattern had you making a hole for your thumb, and I just didn't see how that was going to work. So that was my next pattern, Celtic Knot Fingerless Gloves, and I really like these. I'll get some use out of those next. Well, I don't know, maybe we'll have some more winter here, but we are unseasonably warm. It was 78 degrees yesterday, where my family back in Colorado is getting about, I think 12 to 14 inches of snow. This is very warm for us, but I don't know if I'll be able to use them anymore. The next pattern is from Woolly Bear Hand Knits. It's a shamrock and a four-leaf clover pin. And there's the picture of either a shamrock or a four-leaf clover. And I used a darker shade of yarn. I was using yarn that I already had, and I made 4 of these. This is a really clever pattern, the way that it's made. It says you need 5 DPNs. If you're going to do the 4-leaf clover, at least for one stage, you're going to need 6. So if you decide to do 4-leaf clover, you need another one. Usually it's a set is 5. You're going to need an extra one when you have all 4 leaves on. I'm pretty sure you did. I only made this, and I used all 5 of mine, so that's what I'm saying. I'm pretty sure you need 6. I don't think you can do this magic loop, and I know you can't do it on straight needles. So DPNs worked, and you essentially cast on, and you have a lot dangling here, but you work on one leaf at a time. I did block it, and then I sewed a pin on the back. And I'm going to send these off to my mom and my aunt and my sister so that they all have one. But I love, you do short rows, and they're the wrap and turn kind. And it was really, really easy, especially once you did one leaf. You're kind of, But as they say with knitting patterns, just do what it says. So if you just did what it said, then it's like, oh, that's what you're doing. But I like the way that this curls up here and looks like I-cord, and this is I-cord. I did save 2 long ends, and I did stitch a little bit together here because the leaves are a little bit more separate, but I wanted them to sit up like that for the pin. So I used the tails and just wove them in, and very quick, fun little pattern to do. So that was Woolly Bear Hand Knits, Shamrock and 4-leaf clover pin. The next knit item that I have is a dishcloth, and it's hard to see because it's all one color, but there is a 4-leaf clover and the lettering for the word luck going down the side here. Really hard to see, but just something to make for the holiday and put out for that short time. This pattern came from a Leisure Arts book, but that book is out of print. However, I saw it for sale on Amazon for like $43 used copy. It's like, you've got to be kidding me. But I did find that from the Leisure Arts site, you can purchase the ebook for under $6. So you can still get it and print out the ones that you want. And it's called Leisure Arts Holiday Knit Dishcloths, and it has a number of different holidays. The same sort of thing where you're knitting, but you make the purl stitches to make your design. There are a lot of designs out there for dishcloths like this, but I like it. Turned out nicely, and I'm going to send that off as a gift as well. That's all I have that's knitting, but I did a lot of different crafts. So let me share the first thing, and that would be some cross stitch that I did. On Etsy, I purchased a pattern from Waxing Moon Designs, and it has, all 12 months are available, but you purchase them in sets of 3. So this was for January, February, and March. And you'll see it has a leprechaun. And I made it into a pillow. I had planned to have it in a frame, but I'll get into that. First, what's different is theirs are on linen, and so that linen has a different background feel to it. And I wanted to do it on Aida cloth. This is 18 count Aida cloth. So the count was the same because you were using a linen with 36 and going over 2. The other thing is, which I was unaware of until I purchased the pattern, is that they had done theirs in some Weeks Dye Works threads. And I'll be honest, I've never heard of that before. But then they gave you the DMC alternatives, and I have a lot of DMC threads, so I wasn't about to order all of this long list of colors here. But they said, of course, your design may look different because you use the different threads. So I don't know how it would have been, what would have looked different because using a different background color. I wanted white, and I wanted to use this because I had this piece and I thought it was going to fit on there, and it did fit. It's just that it was a little short here and here to then go in a frame. Any frames, unless I was going to do a custom mat, and I just didn't see for something I was going to sit out for a few weeks to go have a custom mat and frame done for it. So I turned it into a pillow. I did try to frame it, and it just didn't really work out. So I wanted to use white. They have on that pattern, there's some little curls here and here. It was called smoke, which I don't quite get anyway, but it wouldn't have shown up in white, and I didn't think it was going to look good in another color, so I omitted that. The other thing was, this was supposed to be a different color of green. It was more of a blue green, and I didn't want that. I just thought it can just match this border, so I did a different color there. But otherwise, no smoke curlicues, different color here, and a different color fabric. The back, I used some of my St. Patrick's Day fabric that I had a piece that was big enough. I had this cording already, so I thought, well, it's got a black hat, black pot, I'll use the black. And I put a zipper in it and made a little pillow to go inside. So that is my cross stitch. And I'm saying, I'd like to say, since I got those magnifying glasses, I really enjoy cross stitching. It's been a long time since I was able to do it, and it's been a lot of fun to have be multi-craftual, or however you might say that made up word. A brand new craft to me is punch needle. For years and years and years, I'm talking back when I was a teenager, craft magazines would always have these pictures at the back with a punch needle work, and you to get the tool for it, you needed to mail off. Well, I was never going to do that, not knowing anything about it or where it was going to go or end up, so I never did it. But I found on Etsy a place where I could get the punch needle, and I finally decided I'm just going to try it. So I ordered this fabric called weaver's cloth. Now, a lot of times they'll say use monk's cloth, and I did buy a little kit that had that fabric in it, and I had a really hard time. I was trying to do it for my Valentines, was doing a heart, but oh my goodness, I struggled, and no struggling with this. I watched a number of tutorials on YouTube. I also was using a different kind of a punch and had a lot of trouble with it, but I ended up purchasing from the same place I got the weaver's cloth, Ultra Punch, and this made all the difference. It had 3 different size needles at the end. This is the smallest one, I think, for floss and DMC floss. So I made a little sachet pillow. This has a lavender pillow inside of it. I did a Shamrock, and this has been my friend throughout all of my St. Patrick's Day crafting. It's a cookie cutter, and I just drew the design on with the cookie cutter and did the punch. Now, punch needle uses a lot of floss. I ran out of floss very quickly on this. I think I'd gone through 2, I chose a green that I had 2 skeins of, and I think I ended up using 3.5 maybe to get that done. But I'm so happy with it. It's very textural. It feels really neat. You do it from the back. So I just sewed a closed-in pillow, and it's filled with a little lavender sachet that I sewed up in some just lining cloth that I had, and then stuffed the pillow with some stuffing to make a little sachet. So that's my next craft. Then let's see, where shall I go? Because I have a lot. I did a lot at the sewing machine. I started off by making a face mask. I made one for my grandson, and I'll put a picture in here. And then I made one for myself out of this fabric. Something that I use these metal, when I first started making masks, I was using a pipe cleaner, a chenille stick in there, and I did purchase some little bendy metal, so I sew one of those in there, because when you wear glasses, they fog up. So that really helps because you get it around your nose pretty well. The other thing I'm doing, not using the hair ties, I purchased these at my local quilt shop and I've used others where you have to put your own little thing on it, but it already had these little adjustable things on them, so I decided to purchase some of those. And inside, you probably can't tell, but this is flannel. Flannel sounds like the wrong thing to use. It is 100% cotton. But way back when we first started all of this, someone suggested it, and I had some flannel. And then when I talked to my sister, who was making even more masks than I did, she said, oh, that's just going to be so hot. And I thought, yeah, you're right. Even though right now, at the time, it was March, April, still somewhat chilly outside some of the time. I thought, yeah, that's probably true. But I'd already cut it out. So later, when I was just thinking about it, and I thought, I'm just going to try it. For me, these masks, any mask, is very hot. It makes me very hot. So I didn't think it was going to end up working, but it did. It doesn't feel any hotter than just a layer of cotton. Definitely not as hot as putting all that kind of fabric that's not even cotton. I don't forget what they were. But it stops the fog even more. Don't ask me how. I have no idea. This mask does not fog up ever on me. So I've been wearing it quite a bit. So I started off making just a few masks. And then I made some mug rugs. Now this one is just one Shamrock, and I did use a cookie cutter for this, but it was a larger one, which I didn't bring for some reason. I forgot all about that. But I just traced a cookie cutter, and I had that fabric inside, that batting that has the metal stuff in it to keep it from going through. I used the machine just to use a little hem stitch type stitch around here, you can see, with a variegated thread and just a plain fabric. That's all the quilting, no quilting, just that, just attaching the applique through all the layers and then putting some binding around it. So that's my small mug rug that I'm sending off to a friend. And then I made a matching set, well, semi-matching. They are the same design, but they are the reverse, whereas I have this green here and then the darker green. I just flip-flopped that, and again I'm using the variegated thread. It's a variegated green thread, and just stitched in the ditch over here on the sides and made a little set of mug rugs to send to my parents. And then I made a table topper. Now I was doing table runners, and I was going to do this as a table runner and put 3 Shamrocks. But I saw this design that had 4, and I just liked it so much. I decided it could be a wall hanging, or it could be a table topper for just my kitchen table. So it's this big. You can see there's the bottom. And I did put the little pocket here for a dowel so that it could be hung, but it doesn't have to be. I'll get a little closer. I did mostly just stitch in the ditch around the little squares and half triangle squares, but I did put 4 Shamrocks that I did some free motion quilting. I drew it on first. So I saw this on Pinterest. What it was there was just a graph, like graph paper with white and green. I changed it slightly in that I think there were 2 rows of white here and 2 rows here and nothing in the middle. And I just decided to bring it in. So I drew it out on graph paper the way I wanted it. But the Shamrock part, you can almost see a heart here, almost. So made that part, but then this part's going to be different because it's going to be the other leaf. More like there's part of. I made 9 patch squares for most of it. So when I drew it out, then I marked off 9 patch and then made those and put them together. I'm very happy with it. The fabrics that I used, I ordered a fat quarter pack off of Etsy. I think there were 10 fat quarters in this pack. It's about $35, so most fat quarters are about $3.50. So that was a fair price, and it had a variety of fabrics, and I already had 4 or 5 greens that worked, so that's what I did for my fabrics, and I've made lots and lots of things out of them, including some coasters, which are made with a clothesline inside where you cover it with strips, bias strips of your fabrics. And then I've shown this before, making bowls, making coasters. You can find tutorials on YouTube for how to make them with I used a thinner clothesline cloth. It's 100% cotton cording, but I used a thinner one thinking, oh yeah, that'll probably be better, but I don't think so. I think it would have been better to use the same stuff I've always used. So I'm not going to use that anymore, but I was out or close to out, and I saw it at the hardware and thought, oh, that'll work, and I'll probably like that. Won't that be great? But I think it actually, believe it or not, used more fabric, because it wasn't, you would have had fewer circles, you know, going round and round and round if it was bulkier. So, but that's something I used out of some of the scraps that I have. I still have a lot of scraps. In fact, what I did, just like at Valentine's, I took my extras that had already been washed and some of them cut, and a few things already partially sewn together that I didn't use, and sent them to my sister. So she's going to make a tabletop herself, but she's just had carpal tunnel surgery, so she's got to wait till she's got her hand out of its bandage and she's ready to move back to sewing. I think it's probably driving her crazy. It would totally drive me crazy to not be able to make anything. But I think she's got a plan for herself, so that's good to be prepared when you know you have to do something like that, which she has to do. Sometimes you do. The next thing that I did is what I'm most excited about. If you've watched the podcast for a long time, you'll remember me telling that I got a loom and I wanted to weave. And the first weaving project, it was okay. The edges were bad, and I didn't expect to be perfect just starting out. But I wasn't thrilled with actually the process. And I thought, well, I've already bought this loom. I have to like this. So I made a total of 3 things. And I thought, you know, I bought this to do placemats, and I'm not happy with the way the edges look here with what I'm doing. I also wanted to make dish towels. So I got some dish towel cotton. Got another heddle because it needs to be closer together for this. And then I got intimidated and a little nervous. I'd only warped the loom 3 times, and every time I went to Craftsy video to watch how to do it. And you know, Craftsy Blueprint, Craftsy again is not, I don't even know what it is anymore, but I'm not joining up again because I did pay for that expensive membership once and didn't use it at all except for watching one video. And I can't get to it anymore. I don't know if it was a password issue, what, but I can't get to it. So I thought, oh, I just was so intimidated to be going to even more fine material, and I thought, I think I'm just going to give this away to somebody who might enjoy the craft. There's no point to this if I'm not going to enjoy it. But then I talked myself out of it. I thought, darn it, I've got this cotton. I'm going to do it. I'm just going to try it. If it's a mess, then that's it. I had fun. And I'm so happy with what I made. They are not great. They're not perfect. They're not anything. But I am so happy with them. I made some dish towels. And I'll show you the first one. They're a little short, and that's my fault. I could have made them a tiny bit longer, but these cotton threads, I had nicked it with the shuttle that you send through with your yarn on it or your string on it. And so I had loose threads, and I kept getting it caught again in those, and I brainstormed, I listened to videos, I had fixed it quite a bit, but towards the end it was getting even worse, so I decided to cut it off. And so they're a little bit shorter than they should have been, and that's fine. They're still useful. So here's the first one. The second one looks just the same as this one. I think doing the pattern made it so much more fun for me. As I intended to fold in the salvage edge over once, and to machine stitch the end pieces over twice. Let me show you up close. See the fabric that came out? Once it was washed in hot water and dried in the dryer, it pulled in. And I think they're going to be great. So I have 2, just the same. and I just couldn't be happier. And I think for me, when I find myself as I was weaving, thinking about the next thing, that's when I know that it's taken with me. So I'm hoping that continues. I have ordered another shuttle, the boat kind of shuttle, because I think it'll slide through more easily. And I'm going to keep watching some videos. I watched several from Kelly Casanova, and I haven't listened to a whole lot and none from her beginning, so I can't tell you if she's from New Zealand or Australia, but one or the other, I believe. She's given me a lot of really good tips, and I've enjoyed watching those. So that was really exciting to get my loom out, get it going, and as soon as I'm done editing this podcast and getting it up, I'm going to warp it again and make some more. That's where I am right now with that, which is great fun. Let me check my list here because I feel like I'm forgetting something. Cross stitch, punch needle, quilting. Okay, I don't think I am forgetting much of anything. I've got a couple things sitting here to share. I've been making some St. Patrick's Day cards, and I used this sticker rubber stamp set for a lot of the sentiments. This is from Colorado Craft Company, although it says 3C. See the 3 and the C and then Colorado Craft Company. So Colorado Craft Company is 3 C's, but I don't know if they go by 3C or just Colorado Craft Company. This is number LL228 St. Patrick's Day. And I did use those for the sentiments. I saw lots of cards on Pinterest where they used a heart to make a shamrock. So I had some heart die cuts. So I thought, use what you have. Although I had given all my St. Patrick's Day stamps to my daughter, and so I just thought I liked these, so I just ordered those. What you do is you cut out 3 hearts and just glue them down, and then you cut out 3 more and you crease them down the middle, so they're kind of 3-dimensional there. And then I just stuck down. I freehand cut a little stem. It says Happy St. Patrick's Day. These were scraps of paper. This was a little bit long. Both of these were a little bit longer, but they were just strips of some St. Patrick's Day paper that I had. And it wasn't useful for anything other than putting it on like this. Added some little stones here. And I did use the stamps inside. And the first one messed up. Wishing you a pot of gold and all the joy your heart can hold. So I'll be sending that off here. And then I made another small one that was on a green background. I did the same thing with the hearts. Let's see there, 2 layers. You wouldn't have to do that. You could just glue them down and not have it do that. And this one says, hee hee hee, you can't catch me. And I put some little gold things like coins coming out of the pot of gold. And this was another scrap of paper I had from long ago, wishing you a pot of gold. I put some little dimensional stickers here. Now this one, there was already, just like this, there was a shamrock there, a little bit bigger though. And I just glued these hearts over the top of it. They had the crease in them. And inside it says the same sentiment, just on some dotted paper. I like this one the best. And then I made one for my grandson because he loves putting dollar bills in he has a little safe with a combination, and it'll grab your money like those vending machines sometimes do. So he loves getting dollar bills. So I did the origami folds to make 3 hearts and rolled $1 bill up here, and then I put that same hee hee hee, you can't catch me sentiment inside. But I'm going to add some gold to that. I just haven't decided if I was going to paint it on. I have a gold paint pen, so I thought I might do that, but I'm not sure yet. So I made those cards for St. Patrick's Day, and then my daughter saw a sign at a winery she was at. It was Casanel, and theirs is a little bit different, but she said, hey, I think we can make these. So we made these little slancha signs, and they do have a hanger here, but I'm sitting on an easel. And they're wine corks that we just painted the ends green. We had a fun day painting them. My grandson took a bunch of extras and painted the whole things and stuck toothpicks in them and called them lollipops he was going to use for his leprechaun trap. So we just had fun painting. To do the sentiment slancha, I went on Etsy and purchased for just nominal cost a file that you would use on a Cricut, most likely. I just printed it and then put stencil, the clear stencil plastic stuff, and you burned the shape. So I traced it on and then burned around, and we stenciled the sentiment slancha on there, and then just hot glued these on. We sat them out till we were happy with the design, and then left them sitting there and picked up one at a time and glued them down. So using up some of the corks, and it can either be a sign. The board I purchased at Joann Fabrics. I don't remember the cost. I had a 40% off coupon. I think it took it off of one. So that was good. Okay, what else? I did crochet a little something, and this is for my grandson. He last year got so excited making leprechaun traps. And I saw this and thought, okay, I'm going to make him a crocheted rainbow, so that, and you lay it on the ground, and it was the path up to his trap to try and lure those leprechauns in. And let's see, another craft. A few years ago, I think 2 years ago, I made 12 Days of Christmas ornaments out of felt with hand embroidery from a company called Crafts on Etsy. Purchased and made, it was a total of 15 ornaments because 3 of them had a two-part, like a partridge and a pear. For partridge and a pear tree, that was a double. So 3 of them had the double. So it was a total of 15 ornaments. And she has come out, I just found, and she did this 2 years ago, but I didn't think to look for something new. She has come out with, I think, 6 new patterns. One said this Mr. Santa and Mrs. Santa, and 2 elves. And then there's also some from A Christmas Carol. I've forgotten exactly who she has for that. I've not purchased those. I have purchased the elves and Mr. and Mrs. Santa. And I have finished Mrs. Santa. And here she is. You can do whatever color combination you want. This is pretty much a color combination that was on the pattern, but I think her sequins, this set has sequins and beads, and I think hers were clear along here, and I decided to do red on mine, but you do whatever color you want. She's holding a little felt package. She has a little Christmas ball here. Their heads are wooden beads. These are extremely detailed patterns. This pattern, I think, was 19 pages, including just 2 of those pages were the pattern pieces. The rest are instructions telling you what to do. You use either 100% wool felt or a wool blend. Sometimes they blend with rayon or something, I think. You can't use craft store felt. It's too thin. It just isn't going to work. And you have to pre-shrink it because they do not all shrink the same amount. I've had some shrink not at all, and other pieces shrink, little bits. So the reason you have to pre-shrink them in cold water is because part of the process, you're going to be soaking the pieces to get the pattern piece off after you've done your embroidery. And that's actually part of the genius of the whole process, is that you know exactly where to put these embroidery stitches because you are attaching the pattern piece to the felt stitching, and then you have to soak it off so that you can get it off and it's not there anymore. So there she is. You can put the date on the back, or you could put anything you wanted, I suppose, on the back. She has dates for you if you want to put the date you made it. I did not put the date on my 12 Days of Christmas, and I did not put it on this one. But then I decided for Santa Claus, and here he is. You'll see there, this is part of the pattern, so you can just see 3 different color combinations there. You choose whatever colors you want to do. This is the pattern. All of those pages are exactly do this, here's how. Great detailed illustration of what she's talking about to help with processing that written information. You're going to use a product called Sticky Fabry Solvi by Sulky. This is the genius. These go in your computer printer, and you print the pattern straight onto these, and then they are adhesive onto your pattern pieces. So I've not finished Santa, but I've been working on Santa. So I'm going to show you this. I don't think it's giving away too much, but this is a pattern piece that's on felt. You don't cut all the way, or you cut around it, but not on the lines, and you do your stitching. But once you finish with your stitching, then you cut on the lines. And so, see, this has to soak now to get this off. But I've done the embroidery, and there were exactly where to put it. And I decided to put 2021 on the back of his jacket. So here's another pattern piece that required putting the sequins and the beads on. Here's some more pattern pieces. This piece actually has very little embroidery. There is a Christmas stocking that you might have seen in when I was holding up the pattern there, where Santa's holding a stocking, and you have a choice of doing a snowman with beads and sequins or embroidering a little Christmas tree. So I just can't recommend the patterns enough. If you like doing things like this, if you like making things like this is the best pattern set I've ever seen. They're just phenomenal and a lot of fun to make. Time consuming. Mrs. Santa, I think that was probably, for me, with a fair amount of crafting time, a day and a half or 2 days. And you have to plan ahead of it because you've got to soak your felt and let it dry. So that's like, if you're going to do this, that's a day before. You've got to get that ready. You need to get embroidery floss that coordinates, contrasts, or matches your pieces. You're sewing together here, so you need matching. You need these things to show up, so you're using some contrast colors, but what colors you decide to use are up to you. I want to make this set of 4 for sure. I'll decide then after I finish the elves and Mr. Santa if I want to do those Christmas Carol characters. But my set of 15 ornaments I ended up giving to my parents, so I need to remake those for myself. So I have a goal in mind, is to finish the 15 of those, the 4 of these before Christmas this year, so that I have a set for myself. And then if there was time, it would be nice to make another set as a gift, but that's probably pushing it. We have not done our children's literature book yet, and I'm just going to double check here. Oh, I did a couple of other little things I won't be able to tell you too much about. I painted a rock with, just did the shamrock and then put little dots in it and wrote Lucky on the back. I crocheted a teeny tiny little, really quick little shamrock, and I would like to make a string of these as a little garland on my tree, because I'm keeping the tree I used at Valentine's, I'm keeping that up through Easter. This is a perler bead shamrock that I did on a big square. I did some needle felting, and this was my pattern for the needle felting. I put this, it looks smaller because it ends up compacting in later, but I started with this and did my needle felting right with this on it, and then took it away and did some more. So needle felted, and I needle felted this little one here. That's the back, actually. It was a thinner one, which I'm not as happy with. So I think I've got all of my crafts here. Just gonna double check. I think so. And I want to mention one thing, and then I'm gonna do our books. I have 2. The last podcast, which was before Valentine's, it was the end of January, I was showing Unini, the magical unicorn, where I had put the pellets in and then they ended up popping out. I had 2 different people remind me of something that just went out of my head. Is all you have to do is put those pellets down into a pair of pantyhose and tie the end. Stick that down in and they won't come out. Do you know I did that years ago? I would say 25 years ago or longer. I made a porcelain doll in a class, and that's what we did for those little pellets. Totally, that never crossed my mind. So thank you, both people who reminded me of that, because that's what you should do if you're putting pellets inside your needle, your knitting or crochet. If I had only known before I have already taken the legs off and re-put them back on, I could have had the pellets in there. So next time, let's remember pantyhose, or the knee highs. Just you need that nylon fabric will hold in your little pellets rather than sewing into muslin, because the pantyhose will be more flexible and move the way you want them to do. So thanks for the tip, both people who reminded me of that. So our books today. Now, I have shown my favorite St. Patrick's Day books before, so I'm not going to do that again, but I do want to share this book with you that we found last year, 3 Ways to Trap a Leprechaun. And there's other books about trapping leprechauns, and we've read at least one of them. I have it on Kindle. But this one, last year, we weren't 3-4 pages in, and immediately my grandson was like, let's make a leprechaun trap. Let's go I said, well, let's finish the book first. Maybe you'll get some ideas. So he did get a lot of ideas, and we had to try to make those traps. And that was days worth of fun. So it's a story of a little brother and sister. The brother keeps saying, leprechauns, baloney. He doesn't believe in leprechauns, but she does, and she wants to trap one. And the little leprechaun, when he finds, he always has a little message to them. See how they're using the laundry basket? We had to do that one last year. Go out and get sticks, the whole 9 yards, and look, there's the leprechaun sneaking up, but you're never going to catch him. He almost try, but I'll be gone. You can't catch me. I'm a leprechaun. Finn is the name of this leprechaun. So this is a really fun book, and you do see some pretty ingenious ideas, although the one that's full of simple machines and such, I tried to follow it. I don't quite see how they ever would catch anybody in this, but we did have to try parts from that. Well, this year, straight away, I had made the path and read the book, and we made leprechaun traps. So I'm going to show you probably at the end some pictures of the leprechaun trap that painted the box and all that stuff. Well, we also did a little craft for our pot of gold. We're going to add this to, after we did this after the leprechaun trap, we're going to add this above it. So it was from Pinterest. Again, just you can tell exactly what to do just by looking at the picture, but it's a great fine motor skill activity because you're threading through holes and adding the beads. I did use a tapestry needle to put the yarn on so he could get it through in and out, and there was this is a hands-on activity, but it requires adult hands here for little kids, because it's a matter of making sure you're not going, under and over in the wrong places. So you've got to be sure and just point, okay, come under, okay, now go back through here. I had it all cut out. He did the painting here and here. I had him mark 5 of each with crayon. He did so that we know that every 5 we were changing colors. And we did add the indigo to this because I made 35 holes, so we had that. So this was a little craft, for a little kid-friendly craft if you want to help, unless it's a little bit older kids, and they probably wouldn't want to do it. The advantage of this is using those fine motor skills. So our fiber-related book is not so much fiber-related as related to fiber animals. And this is a very cute book. It's called Sweet Pea and Friends, The Sheepover. And it's referring to a sleepover. Now, it's now a set of books. This is the first one. And there's information in the back of the book that I want to share with you, but these photographs are taken on a real farm, and Sweet Pea is a little lamb who, this is based on a true story, not what happens here, but it really happened that the animal was injured, and the vet comes, and that's what happens in the story too. But if you notice these just the interesting effect there with all the little dots. They explained that, I think this is what they're talking about, how the light comes through. It's where the sheep breathe on the cold window pane and it frosts, and he takes a picture of that and then takes other photographs and works them together. It's a very technical process, but look at the beauty of those illustrations. Well, all the animal friends are involved because there's something wrong, and there the farmer has come in to try and take care of Sweet Pea. This was a special animal friend, Prim. You can see there the eyes and the horns to come in. They take her to the greenhouse so that she can stay warm and safe. There's the vet trying to take care of her. So all the farm animals, just very beautifully photographed, and a sweet little story. And then they have a sheep over at the end. When she's all better, all the animal friends come in. They even have a disco ball, and they dress up in the farmer's clothes, like farmer. Look at their disco ball. And the dog comes by and sees, oh, a disco balls. They're dancing inside there. So let me read you just that little bit from the end part. Around Moonrise Farm. All of the animals in this book live on our small farm in Essex, Vermont. We care for them, and in turn, they bring deep joy and meaning to our lives. Sweet Pea grew up here as a bottle-fed orphan lamb, along with her friends Prim, Violet, and Sunny. They trust us and allow us to be part of their world. This book is based on the true story of when Sweet Pea got sick and the other animals helped her get better. And then there's quite a bit more. So this is a sweet book, and I don't have the other books. I have not read the other books, but I want this. So this is one. 2 is Brave Little Finn, Sweet Pea and Friends. Can't see it. Then the third one is A Farm for Maisie, which is showing, looks like a Shetland sheepdog. And it's got Alpaca Lunch is number 4, and then an unnumbered one called The Christmas Barn. So these books are all available in the series from the same artist, and this is by John and Jennifer Churchman, photo illustrations by John Churchman. So this is from their farm. And I do believe I've come to an end of my crafts. I've been busy and enjoying myself very much doing some new crafts. You can see we did a Lego Shamrock to put by our leprechaun trap, and did a fail craft over there. Probably don't want to talk about. Considered a waste of a day and a half of my life. Didn't turn out so well. So I'm sure you're probably now dying of curiosity, so at the very end may be a picture of, in my grandson's word, he's creepy. I may stick that at the end. Who knows if I'm brave enough or not. But thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you were inspired today by seeing something to get busy with something that you like doing, and I will see you again soon. Bye.